gorgeous! Sabrina here. Join me as we travel back to the 1960s and I'm going to show you a historically accurate and authentic makeup tutorial. Many of you know by now that I like to give a little bit of history along with the look. So if you don't want to hear the history behind the 1960s and you want to get straight to the tutorial, then you can skip ahead to that number at any time. And the 1960s is when you see the youth start to really take hold of the beauty and fashion industry. And this is largely due to the fact that since the war, this is the first time that the youth of America have had disposable income. And a good majority of it was spent on looking stylish and being beautiful. There are two different makeup movements that you see within the 1960s. The first is the mod look, the black and white geometric shapes made famous by Twiggy. And this occurred between 64 and 67. Then you also see the hippie counterculture, which occurred in the late 60s and carried well on into the 70s. The icons of this era include Twiggy, Edie Sedgwick, Elizabeth Taylor, Sophia Loren with her gorgeous eyes, and of course the incomparable Brigitte Bardot, who has inspired this 60s look that I'm recreating for you today. In the 1960s is also when you start to see the feminist movement re-emerge, and this was primarily focused on equality for all and the end of discrimination. Some feminists viewed makeup as objectifying women as sex objects, and they wore very little. Others embraced it and wore lipstick proudly as their suffrage sisters before them. As you can imagine, there's a lot of empowerment going on in this time period for women. This is when our voices are getting louder, they're starting to become heard, and that definitely translated over into beauty and fashion of the time period as well. And one thing that I found that was a consistent thing throughout the 60s is that the eyes in makeup were very pronounced. The face and the lips and the rest of the features were kept very pale and neutral, but the eyes really were the attention grabbers of this era. So let me show you how to recreate Brigitte Bardot's classic look.
To start this look, we're going to apply eyeshadow primer to our naked eyelids. The eyeshadows I've chosen for this look are MAC's Bisque and Blanc Type. Now, if you weren't able to get Bisque, it has been discontinued, but Inglot has a dupe in number 390. First, I'm using MAC's Blanc Type, and I'm dusting this lightly all over the lid to set a base for the next eyeshadow we'll be applying. If you're of a different color than me, then I would recommend selecting an eyeshadow that matches your skin tone and another eyeshadow that is one step darker than your natural skin tone. Then I'm going to take Bisque and apply this lightly onto the lid and blend it up into Blanc Type that we applied all over the lid previously. Matte eyeshadows were extremely popular in the 1960s. This was the time before shimmery eyeshadows came out, so the good majority of eyeshadow formulas that were available were in a matte formula. And the most popular colors were grays, greens, blues, and of course neutrals. When there's a lot of emphasis placed on the eyes, especially in this look with winged liner, you want to keep the eyes very neutral when it comes to eyeshadow. And you can see I'm wearing eyeshadow, but it's very neutral and understated here. For the eyeliner, I'm using Illamasqua's Precision Gel Eyeliner in black. And eyeliner was really popular in the 60s. It came in a variety of forms, including pencil, cake, liquid, and a variety of colors. But black really was the most popular color that was used. Quite honestly, the winged liner that was so popular in the 60s was actually a continuation of the eyeliner style that was worn in the 50s. Now, I'm not going to go in step-by-step demonstration here of how to create a winged look because I do have a separate video that goes truly in depth and talks about my tips and techniques on how to get a beautiful winged look. So if you're interested in that video, I'll put the link below for you. What I will say about the winged liner in this look is that it's very dramatic. It's very winged out because in this time period, it was worn with flair. There was a lot of emphasis on the dramatic eyes. They also would line the lower lash line with the same gel eyeliner, and it was pretty thick. I'm not applying it as thick as they would have back then because I want to keep this look a little bit more wearable. And I haven't applied much to the brush. I'm just using what I applied to the brush earlier to create the wing. So this is just the excess being smudged onto the lower lash line. Eyebrows in the 60s were groomed, shaped, and defined with a brow pencil usually, but there wasn't a real defined shape. This is the time period when you start to see more of a natural look. The thickness of the brow ranged anywhere from a lighter tweezed look as worn by Twiggy to a heavier penciled look as seen by Elizabeth Taylor. I'm choosing to keep the brows more thin in this look because I have thinner brows as it is, so filling them in to be really thick wouldn't look that great on my face shape. But if you have really thick brows, this is the era to own them. Now I'm just going back with a little smudging brush and lightly going along the lower lash line to smudge out that gel eyeliner so it's not a harsh, dramatic line there. It's a little softer. You want to make sure that the gel eyeliner has dried completely before doing this, otherwise you have a big old mess. For my false eyelashes, I'm using Coy Cutie from inkyminky.com, and this is a great pair because they wing out at the ends, which creates that cat eye look. It plays beautifully into the winged liner we created for this look already. False eyelashes were very popular in the 60s from about 1964 onwards. Some women would wear them every single day, and some women even wore 2 sets at a time. So yes, not 1 pair, but 2. Those are my kind of women. Well, I'm not applying 2 sets of eyelashes, but what I am doing is taking some of the clippings that I clipped off when I fitted these to my eyes, and I'm applying those to the outer corners just to create added emphasis there. And here you can see how beautifully the eyes came out. Very dramatic. For the face here, I'm using Arbonne's face primer as a base and applying that to my sweaty areas, my cheeks, my forehead, and my chin. Next, I'm going to apply a concealer. This is Bare Minerals Stroke of Light in Luminous 1, and I'm blending this into the skin using the MAC 242 brush. This is a great opportunity to clean up that lower lash line area there and make that black liner really sit put right where it should be on the lower lash line. And if you want to make the winged liner a little bit sharper on the outer edges, you can do that with the concealer here as well. Then I'm applying my foundation. This is Revlon's Age Defying in Fresh Ivory number 5. The face was kept very neutral in the 60s. There was not a lot of emphasis placed on it. And this was kept really understated so that the eyes really were the main focus of the look. Then I'm using Airspun translucent powder to set the face. Using a powder puff to press it into the skin helps to keep the face matte for a longer period of time. And we like that. I'm also using the translucent powder here to set the concealer under the eyes. A little bit goes a long way. Don't use too much. If you use too much, then it can really emphasize the fine lines under the eyes. The blush I'm using is from Estee Lauder. This is Peach Nuance. It's a very beautiful blush, very coral in color. I got it in a swap recently, so I don't know if it is still available. For blush in the 60s, corals, pinks, and peach were the fashionable colors, and the look was focused on being very natural and soft. There was a trend that started around 1963 where applying blush to more of the face than just the cheeks was done to create a natural glow to the face. So color was added to the temples, the hairline, and right under the jaw to add warmth and subtle definition. The lipsticks I've chosen for this look are MAC's Creme de Nude and Fabby. Creme de Nude by itself can be a little too light for those of us with fair skin, but when you layer it with Fabby, it helps to warm it up and it creates a beautiful pink hue. Just like we saw with blush in the 60s, the lipsticks mimicked the same colors as well. Corals, pinks, and peaches were the fashionable colors, as well as beige nude pinks. In this era, they kept the mouth very understated, lips were naturally defined, and no lip liner was used whatsoever. Lipsticks came in a standard tube with a long, slim design that became the fashionable look of this decade. And as you can see here in the old ads from the 60s, they were also shaped differently than what we see today. They resembled more of a bullet shape with a rounded tip at the end. I'm going to go one step further here and blot the lips slightly, and then apply a translucent powder over both lipsticks on the lips. All this does is mattify the lips, making the lipstick more of a matte look than the shimmery, shiny look that we had before. And this plays more so into the 60s look, where you want to keep the lips very understated like the rest of the face and let the eyes do all the talking.
Are you fed up with expensive experimentation? How much money have you spent on eyeshadows you don't know how to wear, or you've become bored with? Well, now there's a way to save hundreds of dollars annually and eliminate eyeshadow guesswork. Discover over 1,000 pictures of combinations using eyeshadows from popular brands like MAC, Urban Decay, The Balm, LORAC, and so many more. With new combinations added weekly, you will never run out of ideas. Visit myeyeshadowconsultant.com and become a member today.